I've met all of you, but if I haven't, I'm really glad that you're here, excited to see everybody. It's a great turnout. Just a little bit about the day today. We're going to do kind of a quick presentation over here. I'll run through some airport development projects, just some stats and facts about the airport. Okay, so the airport is actually owned and operated by the Capital Region Airport Authority. So technically me and 40-ish other people work for the Airport Authority, which we have a managing board of directors. And you can see we've got people from the city who are appointed by the mayor. We have 3 people from Ingham County because that's kind of our primary location. And then we do have ex officios from Clinton County and Eaton County because I'll talk about this a little bit, but we are actually in all 3 counties, parts of our property are. So kind of a little bit complicated when it comes to municipal issues and navigating that, but we've got great relationships with all of our local elected officials. And of course, probably some of those names on there look familiar to you. We've got some long-standing board members who are really committed to the airport and are great ambassadors for us. So executive summary for us. We are the Airport Authority, as I mentioned, and we own and operate the Capital Region International Airport and also Mason Jewett Field Airport, which is the smaller general aviation airport in Mason. It's also part of the Airport Authority. Some people don't know that, so I always like to mention it. 4 key priorities for us at the airport: retain and expand our domestic and international passenger air service. Of course, we're always looking to have more flights, more destinations, more nonstops, so that's a key priority for our leadership team. Increase our cargo tonnage. There's a huge cargo operation here out of the airport. Some people know about it. We'll talk a little bit more about it. I'm not sure if we have any of our large cargo planes on the ramp today, but that's a massive part of our daily operations that most people just don't think about. Increase our land development. We have over 2,000 acres here, and a lot of it is kind of vacant farmland. So what can we do to utilize that land? There's restrictions with what you can do airside versus landside and all sorts of different things, but it's a priority for ours, especially since COVID, where we kind of didn't have control of flights and lots of cancellations, lots of industry issues, so different ways for us to make money with different land use opportunities. And then supporting corporate and general aviation development. So there's lots of corporate and general aviation out of here. All of the MSU sports charters and visiting teams fly in and out of here. Private businesses fly in and out of here. So that's a huge part of our business operations too. We want to make sure we're doing what we can to support them. So a couple of stats and fast facts about the airport. We have $1 billion annual economic impact. So part of the reason that we're here today too is just to talk about how important the airport is to our community. We're a huge economic engine, a driver of a lot of jobs, a lot of economic impact in the area, and if people aren't utilizing our services and this airport doesn't exist anymore, it would be a real hit to our local economy. It's a big economic driver. Like I said, we have over 2,000 acres, and we are right at the intersection of Clinton, Eaton, and Ingham counties, so most of our property, I would say, is probably in Clinton County. We have probably the least amount in Eaton County, but we are in all 3 on this property. So I mentioned that over 700 people are employed at the airport. So we've got 40 people that are employed by the Airport Authority. So that's myself, other members of the leadership team, our public safety officers, our maintenance and facility team, and our airport operations staff. But the 700 people number is everybody else. So when you think about the airport, you should think about us like a mall. We are in charge of operating the facilities for our tenants, our travelers, and anybody coming in and out to make sure things are safe and working appropriately, but all the other business operations in here are managed by those tenants. So even like TSA and FAA, they have leases with us, and they lease the space. They run their own businesses every day. They have all their own employees. We don't get involved in their day-to-day operations. We're just kind of here to manage the facility and make sure they have what they need to operate every single day. Same with all the airlines. So I get lots of questions from media, but also just general public about airline issues and, when are we going to know about canceled flights and what do you think is coming up for any of your airline services? I find out about canceled flights at the same time as everybody else because it's not something that the airport has control over or manages. It's all managed directly by the airline. And so their operations are, again, kind of their own day-to-day stuff, so that's where that 700 number comes in. We've got 55 employees just between TSA and FAA, and I know that off the top of my head because we've been talking a lot about our federal workers lately and supporting them through the government shutdown, and so there's a lot of people who depend on the airport every day. We are actually one of 2 airports in the state of Michigan with a U.S. Customs and Border Protection facility, so that means we can do international flights. The only other airport that can do that is Detroit Metro. There's a lot of airports that have international in their name, but they're not allowed to do flights of more than 19 people. So it's just us in Detroit, so that's a huge benefit to our community that we have international services here. You can fly to Cancun, Punta Cana, a couple other destinations we'll talk about, but there's not a lot of opportunities for international travel outside of us in Detroit. Mason, okay, real quick, we talked a little bit about Mason and how we also own and operate. It's general aviation, so there's no commercial service out of Mason, but there are 81 based aircrafts there. It's 335 acres. Even though it's pretty small, there's still an $18 million annual economic impact. It is, like I said, corporate and general aviation only. There's hangar development opportunities for people, so it's people that have private planes, usually smaller planes that kind of want a hangar and want somewhere for their plane. They're mostly at Mason. And then the big thing with Mason is the Lansing Community College Aviation Technology Program is housed there. Is anybody familiar with that program? Yes, okay. It's been around for a long time. It's a Delta partnership program. And it's a really, really great program. There's a waiting list for it every single year. And it's in Mason. It used to be here, and then they needed to expand, so they've been over there for quite a few years. Here at the airport, we've got Delta Airlines. Right now, we have 3 flights every day to Detroit, which of course sounds like, okay, well, why do I need a flight to Detroit? But it's really that connection point. You can get anywhere that you need to go from here is the point I want to make today, that you can get on a flight here. It's real quick, it's easy, it's 20 minutes, and then you're in Detroit, and from there, your opportunities are endless. American Airlines, we've got daily departures to Chicago O'Hare. Again, same sort of connection opportunities there. And then our, of course, Washington, D.C. flights nonstop. Those are really popular. Those have been around for several years, and that was a lot of hard work by the airport team at the time. Breeze Airways, has everybody in here heard about Breeze? I hope so, because we're really promoting them heavy. It's been a couple years. We really want to get the word out about Breeze. These are some of our nonstop options from Lansing, so you can do Orlando and Fort Myers. There's 2 departures per week to Orlando and then 2 to Fort Myers. Like I said, they're nonstop, they're low-cost carrier pricing, and they always run deals. So it's a great opportunity for you to get down to Florida. I know a couple of you have taken the flights with us on some of the inaugural trips, which was really fun. Fun fact too, if you're going to use Breeze, come to the airport on Tuesdays between 11 and 1 p.m. and buy your ticket at the counter, because then you save on what they call a technology fee. And there's no set dollar amount, but it can save you like $100 per ticket, potentially. So they're only here during those times, so if you do want to buy a ticket, that's a great way to save money. And then of course our international vacations destinations with Apple. Those start in January and they run through early April. And this will be our 16th year with Apple Vacations. Hopefully all of you are familiar with them. They've been around a long time. We've got 3 different destinations this year: Cancun, Punta Cana, and new is Cabo. So we're really excited about that opportunity for people in mid-Michigan to be able to travel internationally. Right here from Lansing. You do all the customs here, you do every single thing here, and it's still the same. Close by parking, easy to get through security, all of that stuff, but it's an international flight. Okay, cargo ramp expansion. I feel like probably a handful of you were here when we did our ribbon cutting ceremony. That was a couple years ago, 2024, and the project was approximately $13 million, and like I already touched on with our cargo, it's a huge operation here. So we expanded the cargo ramp to be able to accommodate additional cargo tonnage because it's just in such demand, especially since COVID. I mean, anything that's next day that you order comes through the Lansing airport. So there's a lot of activity here. So the cargo ramp actually now goes all the way to here. So the expansion was over 7 football fields long, and it took a couple years to complete, but it's there now. We'll kind of get to see it. The great thing about our cargo too is we're actually 90 minutes from 90% of the entire state's population. So we're super centrally located, so it's a really great facility for companies who need to kind of get all over. We're a good central starting point. Here's some of our cargo routes. These are specifically with UPS. Like I said, we have 2 large planes that fly in here, unload their cargo onto either a truck or a smaller plane, and then they go back to Louisville where they're headquartered. And then from here, all the smaller planes fly all across the state. So we serve everywhere except the metro Detroit region. So if it's longer than a 2-hour drive for them to get there, I think by like 10 a.m., they fly the packages there. So there's tons of small planes taking off in the morning and then they come right back at night. There's a couple different carriers. One other thing that we have here is foreign trade zone. So these are designated areas in U.S. ports of entry where foreign and domestic products are considered outside of customs. So this is really a good benefit for any companies that are doing international shipping or cargo business, and it's a great way for them to save money. I just like to mention this because not a lot of people know about it. You can only have this if you have a U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which, like I mentioned, we're only one of 2 airports that have it. So our foreign trade zone covers all these counties. So if companies want to utilize that, they can. Another project that we have going on, we're in the process of right now, is a site readiness and utility infrastructure project. Hopefully we'll have a ribbon cutting on that soon. You'll all be invited, but basically there's a huge area of land that is kind of near our cargo ramp that is just vacant farmland. And like I said, land development is a huge priority of ours. So we received an EDA grant to basically put utilities in this land, so it's all build ready. So if companies want to come here, help support our local economy and economic development, the infrastructure is there for them to build a facility, because right now it's just farmland and all we're doing is mowing the grass. It's not making us any money, it's not useful to anybody, so this way we've got sanitary, storm, electrical, everything kind of there, so these lots are build ready. The design of everything is in process right now, and the construction should start as soon as the snow melts, like in April. Could be May, could be March, you never know with Michigan. Roadway improvements, this is going to be a huge project for us coming up in the spring, again, as soon as we can kind of kick off construction season. So all of the roads around the airport, like the boulevard, our Port Lansing Road, are owned and operated by the airport, therefore have to be maintained by us. We don't have any state funding or MDOT dollars or anything to do these roads. We have to do it and pay for it. And they need improvements big time because our cargo is such a big thing. There's semi-trucks on there all the time. We basically just really need to upgrade them, but it's a huge investment. So we did receive $9.4 million in state funding in June of 2023 to do this project. Basically to upgrade all the roads, put larger curbs in, figure out different landscaping opportunities, accessibility for these large semis and tractor trailers that need to access our roads. So we're finalizing the design for that right now. We'll start the construction, which there's going to be a lot of alerts about that because we're going to have to close some of our roads and people are going to have to know where to go. We're going to start that in April. Beta technologies. So, were some of you here for the ribbon cutting for our charging unit just back in July, I believe? So this is a really great opportunity for us to, again, kind of continue expanding our infrastructure to support the next generation of aviation technology. Beta is an aerospace company. They are making electric aircraft. They're all electric. They had one here for the ribbon cutting. It's a little crazy to think about an electric plane flying, but it was pretty cool when it was here. That's what they look like. But part of the infrastructure that they need is these charging units. So us and 3 other airports did receive a grant from MEDC to install these chargers. So we've officially got a charger, so when those aircrafts hit the market late next year, early 2027, we have the infrastructure here to support them. And it's gonna be, like shipping companies, there's a lot of medical use that they're looking at, military use. So not really for commercial use just yet, but maybe in the future. Okay, master plan update. This is the last thing. We've been spending the last probably 2+ years talking about our airport master plan, which is a long-term planning document that's 15, 20 years or so. And it goes through everything related to the airport, our facilities, our property, and what we see for the next 20+ years of the airport. So you have to have these documents to get funding from the FAA. And they need to be updated every 15, 20 years. So we're in the final stages of updating our master plan now. Once we have that completed, we'll put that out to the public, make sure everybody has an idea of like where we see the airport going, what we see for our facilities. Possibly a very large terminal renovation could come along with that as well, which we're excited about. But all of these things have to be in your plan. So it's been about a 2.5-year process. We're ready to wrap it up and be done with it soon. That's kind of the process. There's a huge, survey, management piece. They do an entire terminal assessment. It's a really long process, so it's very in-depth, so that's why it takes so long. That's our property. The yellow line is all of the property that we own. Like I said, we are just over 2,000 acres, and so it's a lot of property to manage and maintain. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we go across the street. That's it. I know I just went through so much so fast, but are there any questions? Nothing.
What kind of businesses do you envision building on the land that you mentioned?
Ideally, it's companies that might need quick access to an airfield. So that way they're here, like UPS is a great opportunity or example of somebody that needs to get to an airfield quickly, or Nile Wave is right over there as well. So kind of more of that industrial med tech, but really it could be anything. It could be anybody just needing a large warehouse space, a customized warehouse space. There are restrictions with what can be on the airfield side, but for this, there's no restrictions on what type of company it could be.